How long do the baby lambs nurse from their moms? Why do the ewes steal? What's the yellow on them? When is it time to call the vet during lambing? Happy Monday, guys. It is actually late Monday afternoon. It has been a rainy, I will show you, a rainy, gross day today. But a perfect day to finish hoof trimming. So all my ewes that are due next month are all trimmed, all vaccinated. The problem with trimming so many in such a short period of time is I get tired. My body gets pretty tired. And I also included my rams last week, so my shoulders and my neck are tired. I'm just not as responsive to when the animals are flinching as I usually am. And luckily there was no damage to them, but I took all the kicks and hits today. So a few extra cuts and grotesque marks on my already disgusting hands. I will never be a hand model, as I was told when I was very young. Kids are mean. Anyway, I hope everyone had a great weekend. I thought I would come on here. Last week, I started a video on a bunch of lambing tips from other people on Instagram that were so gracious enough to send me their biggest tips. And I had a whole bunch of other footage from you guys on Instagram that asked just some lambing questions for me. And we are already 6 weeks. Some of these oldest lambs are heading into their 6th week. And of course the youngest ones are about that 2-week range. So because they lambed over a month. And I can't believe it. Like, there's only 2 weeks left before I'm gonna have to start weaning these guys already. So it goes so fast. Thought I'd give a little update on what they look like. I'm probably gonna wean my bottle babies this week because I wean them usually in that 35 to 40 day range. But I did have to wait for the younger ones in that group, so because they were about a 2.5 week range in that group. So I want to do that this week. So before all my babies start getting weaned, I wanted to give you guys an update on what they look like, how it's all been going, if there's been any mortality, which, knock on wood, there hasn't been. I lost 1 bottle baby and I still have 2 with joinal that just are probably not going to make it. But I did the treatment and they just didn't respond. So other than that, I hate saying it because they're not weaned yet, but they look really good. But you guys had such good questions, so I want to get to it. So let's go through the barn and I'll just give you a little update on how they're looking so far. They all look pretty good. They're getting pretty big. So yeah, they will get weaned this week. They've been on the feed really hard. Feed and water here. And that's usually a really good sign. They will be fine to be weaned very shortly. This is the oldest pen. These guys are about 6 weeks old now. And yeah, they look good as well. So a lot of people are asking why some of these ewes have lost their wool. Now she hasn't had mastitis, but sometimes I do wonder if they do fight a bit of a bug, whether she had it before lambing and then after the lambing the extra stress will cause wool drop. So she has had some wool drop. She's got new growth. Oh, she has new growth. Oh, that's so sweet. Aww. So she has new growth there, but yeah, sometimes they can just drop wool if they have been fighting a bit of a fever. It's pretty loud in here, guys, today. It's windy and rainy. But you can see they're all pretty uniform in size. Most of them, they're either a twin. I pulled everything over a twin and put them in the bottle baby pen. So they're pretty uniform size and they're pretty uniform age, which helps with size. And the lamb lounge. So these guys are all about 5 weeks old. They're about a week behind the other group. But this one does range from like 5 weeks all the way down to like 2 weeks. So there you go. There's a little more wool drop here, but none of the others have wool drop. So just a few of them have it. And you haven't missed a meal. There's goat. So these are these new ones. And there's my one with a broken leg still. So I'll have to probably open that bandage up this week, late this week, just to see how it's healing. But she looks good. So yeah, they look really good. I'm really glad I pulled off the triplets and the quads. I just find it's a little easier on mums and udders. I did notice my first lamb, I saw a couple little sores, which is a first indication of ORF. I do tend to get ORF if I get ORF. I do tend to get it in the spring, so I don't really know why that is over other times of the year. It never really gets old, does it? Guys, here's Betty, and she's... I'm not sure if she can see or not, or she just hears me. I think they look like they're getting better. It's kind of following me, eh? Oh no. I think she's gonna get better. Those eyes look a little better. And they're not as weepy as they were. So I'll keep you posted on her, but I have a feeling we might have conquered that. I'll be really surprised, but... Hi guys. So I think what I'll do is I will show that footage of me answering all your questions regarding lambing. So on Lambing 101, come on. And then if there's room left at the end of the video, just depending how long the video is, I might do like a lamb compilation for you guys just to see how these guys have grown. It is a bit difficult sometimes. My audience is so vast in your interest, and I really want to be of value to everybody. And so sometimes when I do these Q&As or I do more tutorial style videos, I'll always try to put some B-roll in for you guys that really don't care about what I'm saying, but you just really want to see the animals. So I hope that works out for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you guys have a more creative way to add value to the people that really want that part of it, like the tutorial and the information. Unless you guys do too, the ones that just like to see the animals, maybe you guys want to understand the business side behind it and all that stuff. If you do, guys, drop it in the comments below, because I just find as a content creator, it's hard to figure out what you guys want to see. I want to be of value to everyone and not leave anyone out. So, and maybe I can't do that. Maybe it's just going to be some videos are for just a more general audience and more videos will be for more sheep people. So, and maybe that's something I just have to work on. Anyways, I will let you guys go through the questions, and if you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below and I would be happy to answer them. So number one, Kaylee McNeil 28 says, do you wait for the water bag to be out before stepping in to help, or do you wait and see? For me, you know, when I see her backed off the feed bunk and starting to paw at the litter and circle and kind of looking like she's nesting, I know within that day she's gonna lamb. But am I gonna go and check her and do an internal? No, that's the first stages. The next thing you should see is a mucus plug kind of pop out or some sort of discharge, and that's quite normal. Still, do not interfere, she's fine. The time when you should start to interfere is if she is actively pushing for a long time. So if she's down, actively pushing, there's not really any, even if there is something coming out, and she's pushing and pushing and pushing. If you see feet and a nose, she's probably okay. If you see a head and no feet, she is not okay. Get in there and get that lamb out. Her feet are probably back. If you see nothing and she's pushing for like a half an hour, 45 minutes and nothing is coming out, not even discharge, do an internal, because that lamb is likely malpositioned. It's probably coming out backwards. Number two, I didn't write who said this. I'm gonna have to look. How do you dry off the mums for them to stop producing milk? I will usually about 10 days before I know I want to wean them, I'll put the ewes, I'll take them off their lactating ration and I'll put them on a dry hay ration. So I take out all that extra energy, so it just triggers their body into not wanting to produce as much milk. But the one thing that will always keep an animal producing milk is that baby drinking off it. So the actual act of taking that lamb off is what will really trigger that ewe into drying off. Some people restrict water. I don't do that. Some people feed straw. I've done that in the past. I didn't really find a difference between straw and hay, so I just feed hay. I just feel a little bit better about it. So that's how I dry off my ewes. Number 3 kind of goes with number 2 a little bit. It's Shay Goss. How long do the baby lambs stay with their nurse from their moms? I let mine stay on at least 8 weeks. The only time I'd alter a little bit one way or the other with that is if the group was spread over about 2.5 weeks. I'd probably kind of take the average. So I'd aim for 8 weeks, but some of them could be 9 and some of them could be 7. But 8 weeks is kind of what I'd aim for. Number 4, Steph Funderburg. I like this question, that's why I'm adding it. My only question is, can you please send me Billy? Well, I love Billy, so I can't send you Billy, but I agree. He's a lovely, lovely little gem. Number 5, Sid Parks 07. What's the yellow on them? I've done a couple videos on this too. The yellow is called meconium staining. So if that lamb if the ewe's been in labor for quite a while, the lamb, she passes her feces sometimes inside that water bag, and then the water kind of swirls it all around and it just stains the lamb. So it's called meconium staining. So she pooped in her water sack. Number 6, Aaron E. Moore. This is a great question. When is it time to call the vet during lambing? When you start to cry out of frustration is when you need to call your vet. Other things, if there's prolapses that you're not comfortable dealing with, I cannot do a uterine prolapse, so I always call the vet with that. I know friends of mine that can do it, and good on ya. I can't do it. Or if you just cannot get a lamb out and you think it's going to take the life of the lamb, the life of the ewe, definitely call your vet. So that's what I would say. Just when you start to really, really panic, call your vet and hope that they're close by. How many times a year, I didn't write this again. How many times a year does one ewe lamb on your farm? And with the use of CEDARs, do you get 3? So I talked about this in the final results a little bit. So every ewe has the potential to lamb every 9 months if she stays on track. So if she doesn't miss a conception, then she could lamb for me every 9 months, which is kind of what the goal is. Does CEDARs make them give me more lambs? No, they actually don't. I think a lot of people say they do. Now, if I gave them PMSG when they're in season, would they have more lambs? Perhaps. But like I said, my last March group, so they would have been bred last October, like a year ago October, they had like 2.6 naturally. So, and I've never had a CEDAR group have even close to that. So someone might argue with me, but what I've seen on my farm, the CEDAR groups do not give me more lambs. Number 8, Lindsay Peterson. In the morning, how hard is it to separate the lambs and find who their mother is? This can be tough and it can be really frustrating. And sometimes you don't know if you've chosen right until a couple hours later when the mums don't like their lambs, because sometimes they like them all when the hormones are flowing, and then when everything's done and dried off, they realize that that's not their lamb. So it can be very frustrating. So it's really good to be out there early, or figure out a way where they're not going to lamb overnight. That's my best suggestion for that, but it is hard. Number 9, I have a video on this as well. S-Dermo4, why do they use steel? I would say it's hormones. So when they're first going into labor, Ruby is really bad for this. So when she's first going into labor, she goes insane and she wants to steal everybody's babies. And they just get a scent. So it's just their hormone. They know that they're in labor. They don't realize that they haven't lambed yet. And if there's one lambing right beside them, they just get their nose in there and just the fluids and everything's everywhere. And they just get confused. So that's why they steal. I think that's why they steal. I'm not a sheep, but from what I observe with their behavior, they're the really aggressive martyr moms. So they're the really loud ones. They're pushy, and yeah, they're aggressive. They're martyrs. Number 10, and I included this one because it's my cousin. So Emmett Wes, or Wes Emmett, wants to know, how many coffees do you drink before you get the shakes? I'm at 5. Well, Wes, I'm at 3, and only because my third is a latte that my husband makes for me, and it's 3/4 warm milk. So yes, I'm at 3 before I get the shakes, and the shakes are really bad. Those are the questions that I answered. I hope I've answered them okay, and thanks for doing that, you guys.